welcome. Come on in, take a
All
seat, maybe
right.
grab some tea. You will see Miles is joining us en route
From the road.
from the road. He's on the road and he is joining us, which is why you don't see his face, but you shall hear the dulcet tones of Mr. Miles Taylor.
Appreciate everyone's patience. I thought it would be better to drive without holding up a selfie phone. It just feels dangerous on a rainy day. Uh-oh.
Sorry,
There we go. Now I gotcha.
you got me? Okay, good. It is very rainy. It's going to get very rainy here in New Jersey. I don't know where everybody else is coming to us from, but it's nice to see you. Apparently, someone named George Carlin was right, has joined us, which is a great name, and I appreciate you for it. The Welcome, Miles Taylor. You seem to be one of the busiest guys in the Patriot showbiz route here, and I mean that in the nicest possible way,
I'm doing what I can. Doing what I can, my friend.
right? Um, so you have been doing a lot for a long time to sort of defend democracy. And very recently, you started defiance.org, or I don't know
Yeah.
what you're calling it, but, and it also includes its own news channel, Defiance News.
Mhm.
And for everybody who is coming to us here from all over Illinois, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Northeast Georgia, thank you. You want to give us a little sense of what is defiance, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you, as always, Marissa, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And you and I have had some really good real chat. So this is
Yeah.
absolutely not what I wanted to be doing right now. We after turning against Donald Trump in 2020 and opposing his reelection and trying to keep him from coming back to office, and we succeeded as a group in helping to make that possible. I wanted to return to private life
Yeah.
forever. And, you know, met the love of my life and started a family and built a private business and just wanted to be away from everything in our crazy politics. But, Donald Trump won office again, came back, and in April of this year issued this executive order to have me investigated for criticizing him, for having spoken out against him. And you would think that
Mm.
a retributive act like that wouldn't have immediate consequences. But in this environment of social fear and a second Trump administration, everything in our lives blew up. Our business blew up. Our family's security blew up. Our financial security blew up. Just everything. Everything imploded. And so my wife and I, Hannah, faced a decision, which was we could do what most people in our lives were advising us to do,
Right.
which was lay low and hope the thing blew over and just let Trump move on to new targets and then try to rebuild our lives again.
Right.
Or we could fight back knowing that that would very likely increase the risks of us ending up in a position like James Comey or Letitia James or John Bolton or whoever else has been indicted by this administration. And credit to my wife and her spine of steel. She said, "This is just wrong. This is just wrong, Jack. Otherwise, this is going to happen to more people and more people and more families." And she was right. And so we did. And we haven't looked back. And that's not been the most lucrative path for someone like me after having spent a career in government, but it's the right thing for us now. And there's a reason why we launched this org called
Yeah.
Defiance.
You're breaking up a little bit, so I'm asking to
Org.
repeat stuff.
And
So,
this isn't one of those
yeah,
made up stories and backing up cookies. Are we good?
a little bit. Yep. 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 Okay.
You got
Now
me?
try again. Yep.
There
And
we are.
more.
Sorry, guys. This rainy day out here.
Uh huh. And just so you know, going on in my house right now is my dog Norman. I like to give people a little update because I can't quite hear you now. But he has taken this opportunity to rifle through the cat food. And I can't do anything to stop him because I'm live.
Ah, that's good.
Okay,
Damn
go
it,
on.
Norman.
Norman.
Damn it, Norman. Well, look, I mean, the real talk is we named this thing defiance.org because honestly, that was the turning point for Hannah and I. Is
Right.
literally this word defiance. We were in a period of a couple of months there where I'm not going to lie, we were doing a little bit of navel gazing, a little bit of self pity at just how fast everything in our lives had changed,
Right.
and including losing a lot of friends and people that were close to us that were just scared to associate with us after being in Donald Trump's crosshairs. That sucked. That sucked a lot. But there was like almost literally a day where we started talking about the word defiance and how starting to defy really
Mhm.
changed our thinking from a victim mentality to having control and shaping our destiny. And it was around this time that we decided, no, we're going to fight back against this. We are going to defy this man. This is wrong. Of course, I am not guilty of treason, the highest crime envisioned by the Constitution. We're going to fight this guy. And that's completely changed everything. It went from being one of the worst years of our lives to one of the best years of our lives. And at some point, we said, how do we give this to other people? How do we show other people we don't have to feel totally defeated by Donald Trump's return to office? How do we help them defy as well?
Mhm.
And it just so happened that I was getting asked the question every day, Marissa, what can I do? What can I do? For some reason, people thought I had
You
good
can't see
answers.
this. You can't see this, but it's written here on a piece of paper because it seems to me that that's really what being what defiance.org is there to do. It's not just it's you have so much to teach us as in like the average person about what we can do.
Well, and we decided to lean into that. We said, this must be the calling for the moment. Is there's clearly a gap to be filled, and it's not that there needed to be another organization to go do great work to combat
Mhm.
the power abuses we are seeing in Washington. There just needed to be someone to be like the utility infielder to point people the direction of, hey, this
Right.
organization is doing this and this one is doing this, and here's how you can help. And so we launched this thing. We call it a club for courageous Americans. It's a
Yeah.
place for people to come together and we all collectively fund great causes. And we find those causes where they are needed most, when they are needed most, depending on where the threat has shifted.
Right.
And every single week, we go support an incredible new organization. I'll be honest with you, it makes it a ton of fun. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., we do these weekly spotlights and we have an organization come in and it feels a little bit like Oprah, when she's like, you get a car, you get a car. And we get to surprise these organizations and say, hey, we're going to cut you a $30,000 check this week to go do something great to protect our democracy. And then we also make sure any organization that we're supporting also has specific things that our members can do themselves if they want to get personally involved. And I mean, me and my wife started off as like the one little focus group for this because this is what we wanted. We wanted someone to tell us every week, here's another thing you could do. Here's another way to fight back, because that's what was giving us energy to get through this was fighting back. And so now we want to give that to other people. And we're less than a month into this. And I just cannot tell you how gratifying it has been to get out there and crowdsource support for these great causes and groups, whether it's protesting or protecting whistleblowers or
Mhm.
pressing Congress to go find its backbone. It's been very satisfying. And so we're going to keep doing this every single day, no matter what happens, until the threat is over, until the rule of law is restored. Even if they put me behind bars, I'm still going to be running the thing from inside of a jail cell, no matter what happens, because this is what we got to do. We got to show people not to be afraid,
Mhm.
that you can speak out, and that courage is contagious. So hopefully that's the message folks will get if they join up.
Um, you have assembled a kind of incredible group of people as well to help. Um, do you want to give everybody who's maybe not completely acquainted with Defiance, who's kind of like on your board or who's there being the wind beneath your wings?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, this came together kind of on a lark. So the actual team doing the work is just like a tiny handful of us, and mostly volunteers, like
Right.
4 or 5 people working the back end. I mean, folks don't know this. I probably shouldn't say this on here because my inbox is going to get flooded. But like for the first few days of this organization, I was the support email. When people were like, "Hey, I can't figure out how to change my email address information," I was drowning in like hundreds of support emails because I didn't want this to be about building some other big behemoth. The point was we needed to build a club where we were giving those funds away to great groups. And so, we needed it to be lean. But there was someone who helped inspire the launch of this. And it was Robert De Niro, the actor. And he had reached out about something else a couple of
Wow.
years ago. And I've loosely stayed in touch with him. And I got to give the man a ton of credit because we all remember at the beginning of this year, after Donald Trump was reelected, took office, that there was like a deafening silence, even from the people who had been vocal critics of him. I mean, there was just a ton of fear. And people in Hollywood that had spent years railing against the guy, all of a sudden were just like, I don't want to say anything. Some even said, how do I get close to this guy? I mean, the capitulation, books will be written about the capitulation. But one person who did not do that
Yeah.
was De Niro. And when a lot of celebrities went silent and a lot of former political leaders went silent, he kept saying, no, this is scary. What this guy is doing is dangerous. And
Mhm.
as he himself says, he's like, look, there's no benefit to me to doing this. In fact, studios are scared of people speaking out. They're scared of people being political. They certainly were at the beginning of this year. But in doing that, in being brave, in sort of defying the expectation of capitulation, he allowed a lot of other people in his industry to start coming forward again and start showing people it was okay to be critical. And so he and I caught up a few weeks ago, and in fact, it was more him calling to say, Miles, why the hell aren't people doing more things? And I kind of seeded in his mind this effort, defiance that we were thinking about. And he said something to the effect of, let's do it. Let's go. What do you need me to do? How can we help broadcast this to the world? And we were staying with friends in a cabin in Virginia. And I walked back inside and I turned to Hannah. And I was like, well, I mean, there's only a couple of people willing to help us build the back end for this, but one of them is Robert De Niro. So I think we should just do it. I think we should just go. And that was it. We we logged onto the internet. We went and bought the domain name. I started building a website and I said, let's just not wait. Let's not focus group this thing. Let's not test it for 6 months and then, build a team and fundraise, blah, 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 blah. Let's just go do it. And let's see if people want this type of thing to exist. And if it's just the two of us, me and my wife, great. We will go support organizations out there around the country every week. And fortunately, it's grown into a movement of tens of thousands of Americans. And we're just thrilled that people have responded the way they have. And I think it's because folks are looking for hope and they are looking for something that they can do.
You can't see this because you're driving, but I've pointed at you like, yes, I think people need hope. And I think the I think I've been doing my podcast now for, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, it's morphed into different things. But one of the conversations I have had consistently is, oh my goodness, we need hope.
Yeah.
And what can we do? And it really feels, and like, I think a lot of us, with all due respect to the Democratic Party, have thrown lots of money at the Democratic Party, thinking this will work, and um, hasn't worked really, and
Yeah.
really isn't doing what it needs, the kind of thing that non politicians can do, right?
Yeah.
And I am impressed at how quickly defiance has grown, and that enough money has been raised so quickly that you can, every Wednesday at 5, as you say, can go out and support people. I think I was reading that this week you're supporting whistleblower aid and
Mhm.
the app that tells people when ICE is coming, icealarms.org.
Oh, I love this. This was such a great one. And it came at the perfect time because the week last Wednesday, when we announced this latest, we call them missions. Every week there's a new mission. The president had just started, going after those Democratic lawmakers for warning about illegal conduct and the potential for illegal orders. And also last week, there was
Yeah.
this Reuters story that reported that the White House is going to strip whistleblower protections from government workers. They're going to make it easier to fire and potentially prosecute people who warn about illegal behavior. I mean, this is crazy shit. You can't make this up.
No,
And
it's
so
totally crazy shit, and really seems to disregard that thing called the Constitution.
completely, it treats it just as
I mean, I remember the Constitution. Do you?
a pretty good document.
Yeah.
Pretty good documents. Lasted a long time. Worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, so, last week, amidst all of this, we said, look, we need to go out there and say that if this administration is not going to have the backs of whistleblowers, it's going to stab them in the backs, then
Mhm.
we need to offer support to groups that will provide legal defense, security assistance, financial assistance to people who are willing to be brave and come
Mhm.
forward and expose wrongdoing and expose illegal activity. And beyond that, we need to show them that they will have the moral support of millions if they make that right choice. And so we're thrilled about that. That's just the beginning of what we are going to do with whistleblowers and supporting them. But I will tell you, Marissa, this week, I'll probably get in trouble for teasing this. But like I said, there's only a couple of people in our organization, so it's not like there's too many people to be mad at me. But tomorrow, I will tease to you that, in the wake of frankly, the congressional cowardice we have seen in response to this investigation into U.S. Senator Mark Kelly and the threats of violence from the president against Democratic lawmakers, we are going to launch a couple of different campaigns to go
Okay.
remind Congress
Mhm.
what their job actually is. And one of the organizations that's going to be joining us is called Represent Us. And so I won't get ahead of myself about what they are going to do, but we're support some great work that they are doing. But we are
Bring
also,
Yeah.
um, and looks like I'm rounding the bend here, and I'm
Yeah.
getting my service back.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay, good. So, well, what I was, it was perfect timing. Is the cell phone service started out because my team was like, "Don't let
Exactly.
Miles
Coincidence?
tell her."
No. No. Yeah.
That's right. We have this ingenious campaign. Uh, for people to buy what I think coolest Christmas stocking stuffer ever. And we're going to give them the opportunity, and we're like finalizing this tonight. We're going to give people the opportunity to buy a constitution to send to their member of Congress to remind them how important that document is. And we're going to have some special guests in December, sort of Santa Claus style, roaming the halls of Congress, delivering
I you're cutting up a little bit, but I heard, and my dog is interrupting, but I
these
think
constitutions
so.
and a
Yeah.
stocking for a friend or a family. Oh, no, no, go ahead, Marissa. I'm almost back in service.
Okay, I think I'm just going to repeat back to you, and then you can repeat back to me. And my dog literally is speaking to us. Um, you are going to be delivering constitutions. Santa will be delivering constitutions to members of Congress, and there will be stockings involved.
Well, close. See, this is a
Okay,
good thing that my service cut out because I didn't give away all of it.
perfect,
Um,
perfect.
but look, we're gonna give people the opportunity to send a constitution to their chosen member of Congress to pressure them to remember why they are
I have it fantasy.
there in
I have this. Sorry, go on.
Washington, and then we will have some.
And pause for one moment because I can't hear you. And I'm going to just say, how Katz's Delicatessen has this sign that's been hanging there since World War II that was send a salami to your boys in the army, right? And that was their catchphrase. And I think we're going to need one that's like send a constitution to your representative in Congress. It doesn't have the same ring, does it? Well, you guys out there In Substack land, think up a cute little catchphrase for us. Are you back and there? I
We'll
don't know.
happily take recommendations on um
There's
would
also
it help, Marissa? Do you think if I jumped out and jumped back in, it might help?
it might help. Let's try it. And I will talk to people while you're doing that, while you're trying that.
Let's try it.
Okay. Goodbye for now. We're trying, poor
Oh, wait.
oh, what? You're gonna get better?
I think we're back and I think so.
Oh, and he's gone. And it's just me with you. Um, just to give you a little update on what I'm doing here, someone was like, talk about cookies. Um, right here, I said threateningly to you, are some savory shortbread. It's a Gruyere shortbread. Gruyere, black pepper, and some sea salt. And I'm going to cut them up and bake them. The recipe for not the Gruyere ones, but the basic recipe is going to be on the Contrarian this evening. So if you are looking for it, it'll be on the Contrarian. And otherwise, I'll also then reprint it for my Substack tomorrow. But I just like cut these into little coins. And if you guys have questions for Miles, this would be a good time to send them. He's going to try and come back in, and we'll see if he actually can make it back in. I'm going to reinvite him. That's what happens. Isn't this really just like teaching people how the strengths and the weaknesses of Substack? But I also think it's really kind of him to come join us, even while he's traveling. Oh, there he is.
Oh man, you guys are incredibly patient.
We're in the midst of cutting up little Gruyere savory shortbread.
Oh,
So
wait, tell me about that for a second because I'm getting hungry out here.
I have a recipe that's going up tonight in the Contrarian,
Oh,
um,
nice.
which is going to be for savory shortbread, which are basically like cheese crackers that are super crumbly and delicious. This is a very basic one. It's made with Gruyere cheese and pepper, but I have other ones that have like chopped chorizo and pecorino in them. I have ones with rosemary and manchego and chopped olives in them. And all I can say is it's not a food to be alone with because they are so incredibly Moorish. There, I said it. Um,
So here's the question: how long does it take to prepare? Because I always feel like recipes lie. They lie to you and how long it takes to get something ready. And I know you don't do that.
I don't. I am honest. I am no politician when it comes to recipes. Let me tell you. No, these take little to no time. In fact, I created the recipe so that I could. You don't even have to dirty more than the bowl of your Cuisinart or whatever you call it, your food processor. So you chop the cheese in the food processor, then you toss in the butter and the flour, then you mush it all together and you roll it into a big old coin, like a log, and then you refrigerate it, and when you want to eat them, you chop them into coins and coin size shape. They're about quarter shaped, and bake them. And it takes little to no time. About the most, it takes longer to clean your food processor afterwards, unless you just put it in the dishwasher. I'm telling you, this is the food of the gods. And if you show up with this at Thanksgiving, everyone will love you even more. They're like, oh, yeah, fine, save democracy. But can you make a cheesy, savory shortbread? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Miles in democracy. But
I do have to ask you, and I promise I'll fill in the gaps from the service being out. But is there a recipe this year that surprised you that you would say like this was the coolest thing that was put on my radar screen?
yes. Yes, I would. And it would be, I used to have a cookbook club here at the local bookstore, Watch on Booksellers, and I will be starting one online as well, but that's neither here nor there. That's coming soon. But
Woo!
we reviewed A book called Sally's Baking 101. She's a very famous blogger, influencer type. And I was, her recipes are first class, but everyone baked something from the cookbook for the event that I had, and somebody baked her brownies. And I was like, I've been kind of searching for a holy grail. Like, one of my quests beyond finding the perfect chocolate chip cookie has been trying to find the perfect brownie. And I'm not saying it's the
Wow.
perfect brownie, because just like there's no perfect chocolate chip cookie, everybody's got a different idea. Like, there are people who believe nuts belong in brownies, which is insane. But her brownie recipe is fantastic. Dense, fudgy, made with cocoa, like a lot of cocoa powder, no melted chocolate, and it is fantastic. First rate. So,
How sweet.
it's not sweet. Very, like, a
Mm.
nice dark, um nuts belong on top of brownies. Well, we can discuss that. On top, then I can pick them up.
Ah.
Okay.
Oh.
Um, we're getting some notes from people in here, some questions, and someone had a
Yeah.
question, so let me ask you, and this is a good question. How do you follow up, meaning me or someone who contributes to, uh, your site, um, to follow up that my donations are well spent and effective? Like, how do I know that, what you're doing with my money is good?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the short answer is we let people decide. So I guess there's another way of saying that, which is if we make a bad decision, it's your fault too. So we felt like in doing this, I mean, there's a lot of orgs out there that are like, look, give us money, we know what to do. And we want people to participate in this. And we have our very first monthly members meeting on December 3rd. And what we'll do is pull folks together and say, look, we are people, the those of us who've spun this up, who know the pro democracy space
Right.
exceptionally well. We know what causes out there are great. A lot of people that we've, worked with are running different great causes, but we'll lay out there different options for how we can fight back in the month ahead and then give people an opportunity to weigh in, choose, decide what sounds like the right thing to do to meet the moment. And then importantly, we continue to follow up with those organizations. What have they done? But I mean, I'd say the most crucial part of it, Marissa, is
Mhm.
by giving people the opportunity to participate in those activations. I mean, our members will tell us
Right.
if we were able to do good through that organization because they will go get involved if they want to go help execute those programs and those plans and those activations. And that gives us like a constant feedback loop that we're doing the right thing. But I would also say this is like, we don't want this to be about money if folks don't have funds to spend on the fight. For a lot of people, they've got
Mhm.
energy and time they can commit. And so, we did a radical thing, maybe a stupid thing, but a radical thing in saying to be a member of this Club for the Courageous, your membership fee is whatever the hell you want it to be.
Mhm.
If you're the type of person that can give $1,000 a month to these great causes, fantastic. If you only have $1 a month to give, okay, that shouldn't keep you from being a part of this effort. And if you want to vote every month on where that dollar goes and help us shape it, cool, you should be able to. That shouldn't be the barrier. So we want this club to be as big as it can be, and that we can decide collectively how to go do good in this moment and to fight back. So that's how we've constructed it. But we're very eager to keep getting feedback from our members as we grow
Mhm.
this thing.
That's great. I think that, also by people can also have the means to get involved with the organizations themselves, which I think is a really smart way for people to get involved, because not all of us have a little bit of spare cash. Because apparently, coffee's gone up 14% since Trump entered.
40, 40,
14,
40.
14, 1 4, 14,
No, I think it's
14%.
40, isn't it?
Is it? Oh my God.
Yeah. I think it's 40. Now that might not be since he's returned. I think it's up 40% since like 2021 or something like that. But I mean,
Okay.
I know that the 40 number is real because Hannah has been trying to get me to Yeah, yeah. She just confirmed from the
She
back
just
seat, it's 40% this year because she's trying to get me to quit coffee. And she's like, you could become a tea drinker. And it's not that I don't like tea, but I'm not going to replace coffee with tea. I'm just not going to do it. I would much rather mount a whole of society campaign to go after the president of the United States than
you,
to give up coffee.
I think you might be able to reach some of the unreachable people by explaining how expensive their coffee has gotten.
I know. Well, look, this sounds silly, and anyone who's heard me say this is gonna roll their eyes. But I think this is one of the best ideas I've had all year, which is, and
Yep.
this may become a Defiance.org activation super soon. But this is like the price increase is bigger than the revolutionaries who launched the Tea Party when they were dealing with the increase in tea prices. And I feel like there is something to be done here
I think
with
we're
our
you are
used coffee grounds. Like we should be. I don't think it's legal to do this, but we should be mailing our used coffee grounds to the White House or something, right? We got to find the right, lawful, and appropriate way to protest with these used coffee grounds. But something needs to happen there.
there's so many things we can do with coffee grounds as well. I mean, you can just make art with coffee grounds. You can help like improve the soil content with coffee grounds, and we can create the coffee party. Exactly, Dawn.
Are
Exactly.
there recipes that involve used coffee grounds?
Yes, there are. In
No,
fact,
no.
yes. The woman who runs Milk Bar has a cookie that has coffee grounds in it. Among
Stop.
other things. I think it's absolutely true. You can make a great rub for meats with ground coffee. So there's stuff out there that we can do with that. Make a great barbecue sauce. Sell that. We got this. I think we got this. As someone
There's
who
something there. You and I need to keep ideating on this front because I think there is a moment to go out there and say we're sick of this shit. We're sick of these
Mhm.
forced taxes on the American people. Like, forget the word tariff. Tariff is like an inaccessible
I don't know what
academic
a
word.
tariff is,
Yeah,
and
it's just a tax.
I've already been lied to about the tariff. So that may be, I think that, one of the things that a lot of us are going to face on Thursday, right, is that we are going to meet people at our Thanksgiving table who may or may not, who may be dyed in the wool MAGA fans who still have not seen the light and are still like spewing whatever it comes to them via their silo of news, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, like, the word tariff's not going to mean anything to them because they know what this is. They have an idea. They've been told that tariffs are going to be okay for them. But to me, if you start talking to them about the price of coffee and how
Hmm.
that's gone up, it's going to hit everybody feels that. Even more than like,
Hmm.
oh well, I invested more in my turkey this year. Sure, but you're going to eat turkey once a year, right? So it isn't a big deal. But coffee, you want to
Hmm.
drink that every day. And I went to my little old ShopRite. I'm gesticulating to my ShopRite supermarket, which is the most reasonable price place. All the coffee, except for some really gross ones with like blueberry flavoring, and some. No, it's really truly grotesque. And some like blueberry flavored coffee. Okay. And some like 8 o'clock brand, which has been around since like my grandmother, right? It's my grandmother's time. Um,
Hmm.
all the other coffee was $14.99 and above
Wow,
for a pound. That's a lot of money.
that's
And
insane.
it's insane. So we are gonna get our coffee. I'm gonna work on some coffee ground recipes for you.
I,
Um,
I would love that. We should promote them. And I do. You mentioned the Thanksgiving Day conversation. I'm curious to ask you, Marissa,
yeah,
what is your approach in addition to mentioning unifying things like prices going up being awful?
yeah.
What's your approach to the Thanksgiving Day conversation? Because I suspect this is going to be one of the hardest years for people to go sit down with relatives that disagree with them politically.
Um, none of the people who sit down at my table disagree with us.
We're coming to your table.
I'm really, really lucky that way, right? Most people know my brother. David, obviously, he's not coming this year, but he's obviously, and he and I and my brother Paul, who is coming, all are very much on the same page, very much on the same page. And other years, I've had the pleasure of having people like E. Jean Carroll to my Thanksgiving table, and we all know she agrees. So
He agrees.
My Thanksgiving occurs in a silo, I'm afraid to say. Um, somebody's saying, I will not be visiting my mother this year because it will be so much less toxic. And that makes me very sad because I want you to be able to see your mother, but I'm also understand that maybe toxic isn't what you need in your life. So
Mhm.
what do you say? I mean, what are you looking for? Like, how do you approach it?
It's a great question. I mean, I really think what you just said on prices, finding those topics where there is unanimity is a good approach. I mean, there's no sense in sitting down at the table next to your MAGA relative and trying to shame them, right? When has shame ever changed anyone's mind about their
No,
politics?
I
In
just
fact, if
dig in
anything,
more.
it just digs in. You just dig in. So think about if it's coming your direction. And that sounds like kindergarten advice, but it's real. I mean, empathize with the person on the other end of the table. Okay, what would be persuasive to them? What's something that they're probably going through as well? And there are these things that whether you are liberal or MAGA or independent or whatever you are, that we're all annoyed by right now. Yeah, the cost of goods going up. Yeah, the rhetoric in this country getting so heated. Yeah, political violence affecting people no matter what side of the aisle they're on. There are these topics that when they come up in conversation where we all say, yeah, enough of this. And where people end up unifying around the idea of throw the bums out. We need to do something different. We need to move on from all of this. Those are the topics I would say people need to go to. And look, if you want to go straight at it, if you
Yep.
want to go straight at Donald Trump and the White House in these conversations, then go after the things that are hypocritical and ask questions instead of making statements. And the types of questions I would ask are things like, you know, don't we think it's problematic that he came in to allegedly end the weaponization of justice, but now he's trying to throw all these people in jail? Don't you think that's just going to result in things ping-ponging back and forth? Those types of questions, pointing out the hypocrisy and asking it, forces people to consider that position, forces them to respond to it. And people don't like to defend the indefensible. They don't like to get trapped in one of those questions. So you may be a little bit more likely to get the thing that you want if you ask about some of those contradictions we've seen from the Trump administration.
I think that's a great approach. I think having that as part of your approach is good. I talked to one of my students yesterday, and her take was she was going to talk to when their relatives throw fake news at her, is just to say, I would appreciate it. And this, she's had the way of saying that was beautifully kind of passive aggressive, which was, I would appreciate it if you could please go and research that topic before we discuss it further. And
Oh, that's
I really like that. I'm going to check on my cheese shortbread, which are looking delicious. Um, I'll show you them all in a second. Can we talk briefly before I send you off to drive safely? Can I quickly ask you about Mark Kelly, because I
yeah,
think
please.
you, of all people, really truly have an insight into this that many of us who just are watching from the outside can't appreciate fully. We're all sort of horrified and disgusted. However, um, what do you think about what's happened with Mark Kelly this week? Down to the fact that, like, Pete Hegseth was ragging on him this morning, saying, "You're wearing your medals in the wrong uh, direction," and stuff like that, not recognizing that the picture was reversed. But that's neither here nor there.
I think this is going to blow back on them. I
Okay.
mean, look, I'll say it two ways. It is obviously on the surface a really, really terrible and alarming thing.
Mhm.
Mark Kelly's crime was going out there and telling people not to commit crimes.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't get crazier than that. That for going out and reminding people of their oath of office, he's potentially going to be court-martialed. That is a truly banana republic stuff, full on. And more than any of these other investigations we've seen, this is the one to me that shows, that the rule of law for the moment is just moribund completely, because the president can just do whatever he wants, go after whatever enemy, investigate them, even for very obviously legal things, rather than they've given up even trying to dredge up potentially illegal things or infractions or
Right.
mortgage applications that don't have a box check. Now they're just like, yeah, you abided by the law, doesn't matter, we're going to investigate you anyway. So that on the surface, very bad, cannot overstate it. However, the reason I think this is going to blow back on them is that service members are now being put into a really terrible position, including service members who support this administration, by the way. They are
Mhm.
seeing an attack on one of their own. They are seeing an attack on an honorable man, and it's putting a really bad taste in their mouth. And not just those service members. I
Mhm.
mean, people who are watching around the country really don't like to see someone who has protected their country in uniform, flown into space 4 times, attacked so grotesquely by a man who avoided service in the military by claiming bone spurs. Like, they don't like that. And they don't like to be taken advantage of in that way. And so I don't think this is going to end the way that they expect. I don't think Mark Kelly is going to end up in any sort of real legal trouble. But the damage has been done in terms of the cuts into our civic fabric. This is the type of thing that's further polarizing Washington, that's leading to threats of violence against these people. And damn it, did Mark Kelly not already give enough for this country? And did his wife not give enough
Yeah.
by taking a bullet in the head simply for speaking her mind? This family has suffered. This family has suffered for us. They have sacrificed for us. And I think most people, not everyone, but most Americans see what happened with this and they're sick to their stomach by it. And as these episodes pile up, it will be self-defeating. And look, there are examples in history to tell us that this is how almost all autocracies end up collapsing, is they go too far. And when they go too far, they create a bigger and bigger opposition. And this is very personal for us, Marissa, because in April,
Mhm.
our case is now one of a zillion cases of retribution from the president, but it felt very, very lonely in April. And Hannah and I and our family felt like we were out on an island and people didn't get it. And there were people who completely supported us who said, well, I don't know. The president of the United States said you're guilty of treason. I mean, are you sure you didn't do anything? Yes, I'm very sure I didn't commit treason against the United States. But, so that's scary because you're isolated, and people generally, if they don't trust who's in power, they tend to defer to the Justice Department if someone's being looked into. But
Right.
now, here we are towards the end of the year. So many people have been lawlessly targeted for retribution. The boat has gotten so big that it's caused the opposition to grow. And it may sound like a silly thing, but like their attacks on Jimmy Kimmel were a great example. They made a
Mhm.
very stupid and miscalculated decision that they thought was clever. They thought going after this comedian would silence dissent. No, what it did was piss people off who watch Jimmy Kimmel. Who watches Jimmy Kimmel? Millions and millions of Americans, mainstream Americans, people who don't live on the coast, people across the country. That made the boat bigger. It made the resistance bigger. It made the defiance bigger. And I think what we are seeing with Mark Kelly is going to do the same thing.
Mhm. You know, um, the thing I should never get myself involved in is thinking about motive. And I think what they did with Mark Kelly, I obviously agree with you. It was so absolutely ridiculous and so ripe for blowback. I don't understand how the conversation must have happened in the Oval Office to say, you know what we should do? This is going to be a great idea.
Well,
Um,
they're scared to push back on the guy, Marissa. I mean,
mm,
it's funny. Hannah and I were talking about this on this drive. We were talking about some of the people. She and I both worked together in the first Trump administration. We like to say we found love in a hopeless place. And we were talking about some of the cabinet members that used to push back forcefully against the president. And you know what? I'll just say this name. We were talking about there's news stories out there about Jared Kushner negotiating some of these, negotiating the Ukraine deal. And there's all sorts of problems with that. And that's a conversation for a separate podcast about
right.
a non-governmental employee negotiating these things. But what I said to Hannah was, I said, I have a tough time going out there publicly, and people expect me to attack everyone in Trump's orbit, including Jared. And I have a tough time attacking Jared. And I actually won't. And I'll tell you why. He
Mhm.
was one of the few people who showed any damn backbone in those Oval Office meetings. You can love him or hate him. I don't care. All I know is what I experienced, which was when the president was about to make very stupid decisions and immoral decisions and illegal decisions, the ones I was there for, and Jared was in the room, there would be cabinet secretaries, graybeards who've served their whole careers in Washington, sitting there on their hands with their mouths shut, not saying anything. And Jared, who, by the way, he's not just an employee of the president, it's his father in law,
Yeah.
would push back and say, Mr. President, I think this is a bad decision. And Trump would raise his voice. He would yell at him. He would embarrass him. And you know what? Jared would go right back into it. And I admire that. A lot of other things. Again, I'm not trying to make an overall statement on this guy,
Sure.
but he would push back. And there were people that pushed back in that administration. But now, of course, those people are gone. And there aren't people pushing back. And there aren't cabinet secretaries willing to say, Mr. President, this is illegal. We cannot do it. And so the way I imagine that meeting went when they were talking about Mark Kelly is if the president said, I want you to go investigate him, you had a bunch of people grinning, patting themselves on the back and saying,
And
we've got a few ways we can do that, sir.
I think, as Jimmy Kimmel said, and Stephen Miller's in the corner just sucking on his pinkies. Um,
That's right.
I should let you go. But because you have a lot to do, not just like driving, but also like, this whole defiance thing, which I am so grateful that you came on today. Before you go, I would like to ask you some very important questions because
Please.
you've helped solve how to deal with family on Thanksgiving, and I appreciate that. But the other vital questions that I think America needs to know is, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
This is a great question. And I would say, before I get lost in the answer, thank you for having me, Marissa. And thank you, folks who tuned in, for dealing with the fact that I was going through this hilly, rainy area and going in and out of service. I really appreciate that. I'm sure that was annoying, but you probably got to read one or two news articles that you wouldn't have otherwise read because my service cut out. My favorite Thanksgiving dish, two things.
Hmm.
One is my wife bakes the most incredible sourdough. And I know it's become very much in fashion for people to make sourdough. She was doing it before it was
I
cool.
just want to say she's stuck with it. She's with
I,
she. Yeah.
I got to tell you this. I may get excoriated from the back seat here for saying this out loud, but I mean, even as she was in labor, painful, crazy, excruciating back labor, she wouldn't leave the house until she fed her sourdough starter. I was like, honey, get in the car. We've got to go to the hospital. This baby's going to pop out. She's like, hold on. I've got to feed the sourdough starter. So she is committed to the bit. 2 to 3 minutes of park attractions, she just said, and she was feeding the sourdough starter. Hannah's a
That
badass.
she is so badass, and that's how you knew she would be a good mother. That's
Oh yeah. So her sourdough is extraordinary. I know that's not just a Thanksgiving dish. I'm lucky enough that I get a fresh loaf every week.
yeah.
The second thing is she makes a shoot, honey, what's it called? Sweet potato pie. She makes a sweet potato pie that might as well be, any other delicious dessert pie you would have, except it's like healthy. So those are my two favorites. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting behind me here in the car.
Right, kids slap the back of your head. No, I mean, it sounds like as somebody, your wife is devoted to her sourdough, and the pie sounds delicious. Um, and
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't look. We could do a whole podcast about Hannah. There's like literally no one on this planet that's like her. I mean, she's like the most multi-talented person I've ever met. I feel like totally embarrassed and a slow dummy anytime we're talking about the things that we've been thinking about during the course of a given day.
well, it's good that you have her. People, just please let Hannah know that there are people asking for her sweet potato pie recipe.
Okay, we'll post it. Hannah, they're asking for the sweet potato pie recipe, so we're going to have to post that. She says it's embarrassingly easy, which is like actually the best thing to hear when you want to
That's
make
what
something.
everybody wants to hear. It shouldn't be complicated. Yes, people are begging for it. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much for what you're doing. Please send our love to your wife in the back seat and thank her for her patience as well. And thank her for the recipe. And have a great Thanksgiving.
Marissa, thank you. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And thank you for those of us who are going to everyone who's going to join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern live for the Defiance.org weekly spotlight. Last thing you do before you tune out for Thanksgiving, if you can join us, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll send you the update.
We can
So
bake along too, can't we? Like,
that's right. You can bake along. You absolutely can.
so okay, tomorrow, Wednesday, 5 p.m., and they find it on
You
Defiance.
can just find us at defiance.news or you can go to defiance.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I plan to probably see you all once before or on Thanksgiving. Let me know in the comments with all of this if you'd like to all have a little cooking chat before Thanksgiving. Okay. And thank you very much, Miles.
All right. Thank you, friends.
Bye bye.
Bye.